I never thought I'd wake up in someone else's skin, staring at a face in the mirror that wasn't mine, with a dead man's memories clawing at my brain like hooks in raw flesh. The brother I trusted, my own blood, sold me out for a corner office and a senator's handshake, framing me for the embezzlement that should have buried him. And when the man I loved spat in my face, believing every poisoned word, I didn't break. I shattered the world instead, swapping souls in the dead of night until the truth clawed its way back. 9 months heavy in my stolen womb. My name is Finley Harper. Or at least it used to be before the swap. Back then, I was just Finn to the world, a mid-level accountant in the glass tower sprawl of Chicago's Loop, crunching numbers for Harlan and Sons, the kind of firm where loyalty meant nothing and leverage was everything. I'd clawed my way up from a trailer park in Gary, Indiana, where the air smelled like rust and regret, dreaming of the day I'd trade my beat-up Chevy for something with heated seats and a future that didn't reek of failure. That's when I met him, Elias Kane, the golden boy of the Windy City elite, heir to a real estate empire that swallowed neighborhoods whole. Elias wasn't just handsome, he was the kind of man who made you believe in redemption. Tall, with that effortless jawline and eyes like Lake Michigan on a clear day, he swept into my life at a rooftop bar during Pride Month, champagne flutes clinking under fireworks that painted the sky electric. We were opposites in every way that mattered. I, the quiet queer kid from the Rust Belt, him the straight-laced WASP scion who'd only just admitted to the world, and himself, that labels were bullshit. But love doesn't care about spreadsheets. We built something real in the shadow of his family's skyscrapers, lazy Sundays in his Lincoln Park brownstone, takeout from Giordano's deep dish that we'd fight over like kids, and whispers about a life beyond the boardrooms. Then there was my brother, Derek. God, Derek. The black sheep who'd always been the wolf in disguise. 2 years older. He dropped out of community college to chase get-rich-quick schemes, crypto pumps that tanked, pyramid sales that left widows penniless. But blood's thicker than ink, right? When he showed up at my door 6 months into my bliss with Elias, tail between his legs, begging for a job at Harlan and Sons, I pulled strings. I vouched for him, fudged a reference, even covered his bar tabs after hours to keep him straight. Family first, Finn, he'd say, clapping my shoulder with hands that always felt a little too tight. I believed him. What a fool. The betrayal hit like a freight train out of nowhere. It started with whispers in the executive suites, millions vanishing from client escrow accounts, funneled into offshore shells that screamed white-collar crime. The feds circled like vultures. And when the audits traced the digital footprints back to my terminal, I stared at the screen in disbelief. My logs, my passwords, my goddamn signature on the transfers. But I hadn't touched a dime. Derek had. He'd used my access during those late nights I'd spent tangled in Elias's sheets, thinking I was building a life, not a noose. Elias found out first, of course. Harlan and Sons was his family's firm by marriage, his father-in-law from a shotgun wedding to Elias's mother that no one talked about. He stormed into our apartment that night, face thunderous, a manila folder slapped on the coffee table like a guillotine. Explain this, Finn, he growled, voice low and lethal, the kind that echoed through courtrooms and crushed unions. I stammered, piecing together the betrayal, showing him the timestamps that didn't match, the alibis from our weekends away. But Derek had been thorough, fabricated emails, doctored CCTV footage of me slipping into the office after hours. And there, buried in the folder, a text chain from my phone. It's done. Offshore secure. We split it 60-40. Sent to Derek. Dated the day after our engagement party. Elias's eyes went cold, the blue draining to steel. You played me, he whispered, voice cracking like ice underfoot. All of it, the ring, the promises for this? I reached for him, but he recoiled. And then, Christ, the spit. Warm and vile, hitting my cheek like acid. It slid down my skin as he loomed over me, all 6'3" of righteous fury. Get out. Before I call the cops myself, he didn't even wait for me to pack. Just turned his back. Phone already dialing his brother, the prosecutor who'd bury me alive. I fled into the Chicago night, the spit drying sticky on my face, the city lights blurring through tears I refused to shed. Gary welcomed me back like an old bruise, Mom's trailer sagging under winter's weight. Derek nowhere to be found. But the feds didn't care about innocence. They had evidence. And I had a rap sheet waiting. Embezzlement carried 15 years. Minimum. I'd lose everything, my license, my freedom. The child I'd only just discovered was growing inside me. Yeah, that's right, Elias's child. The test from the drugstore bathroom. 2 pink lines that should have been joy. Now a ticking bomb. Desperation breeds devils. That's when I met her, Dr. Lena Voss. In a dive bar off Halstead, nursing a whiskey neat and a grudge the size of the Midwest. She was a neuroscientist, blackballed from Big Pharma for unethical experiments, her eyes sharp as scalpels behind wire-rimmed glasses. Body swaps, she murmured when I spilled my guts over stale peanuts. Her laugh bitter as the burn in my throat. Not science fiction. Fin. Just forbidden science. Neural mapping. Synaptic overrides. I've done it on rats. Chimps. Willing subjects. Her fee? A cut of whatever revenge I could muster. And a body hers? Or rather, the one she'd prepped, a surrogate. Anonymous. Carrying a fetus from an IVF clinic fire sale. No questions. No strings. Just a swap. My mind into her vessel. 9 months along. And hers into, well, oblivion, if the procedure went south. I said yes. What choice did I have? The feds were closing in. Derek was ghosting. And Elias, God. Elias had already posted bail for his promotion, washing his hands of me, like Pilate. The procedure happened in a basement lab under a shuttered steel mill in South Chicago. The air thick with ozone and fear. Lena's machines hummed like angry bees. Electrodes kissing my temples. The sedative pulling me under like Lake Michigan's undertow. You'll wake up new, she promised, her voice fading. Use it. Burn them all. I did wake up new. But not better. The mirror showed a stranger. Soft curves where angles used to be. A swell under my borrowed shirt that kicked faintly. Like a warning. Lena's body, mid-30s. Olive-skinned. With a pixie cut and tattoos snaking up arms that weren't mine. And the memories. Flashes of her life. Loveless flings and grant rejections. But strongest, the echo of the child. Not mine, technically, but now it was. Implanted months ago. Viable. Vital. I touched the bump, feeling the flutter, and something primal ignited. This wasn't just survival. This was reclamation. I disappeared that night, torching my old ID in a steel drum fire. Lena's passport, my ticket west. Denver first, neutral ground. mountains that swallowed secrets. I rented a studio walk-up in Lodo, cash under the table, and dove into the shadows. Derek was easy to track, scum floats. He'd surfaced in Phoenix, peddling investment opportunities to retirees, his face plastered on LinkedIn like a badge of shame. Elias? Harder. But power leaves trails. Press releases for Kane Development's latest high-rise. Gala photos where he smiled like the devil at a debutante ball. No mention of me. No trace of grief. The pregnancy anchored me, a cruel metronome to my plotting. Morning sick in alleyways. Ultrasounds at free clinics where nurses cooed over, your little miracle. But miracles don't forgive. I hacked together a plan from Lena's fragmented notes, neural echoes of her genius, and dark web forums, synthetic identities, ghost servers, a slow poison of leaks and lies. First target, Derek. I posed as a jilted investor, luring him to a meet in a Scottsdale strip mall. He showed, all bluster and cheap cologne, until I played the recording, his own voice, confessing to the frame job over a burner phone tap I'd lifted from his cloud. You think this scares me? Sis, he sneered, not even clocking the body swap. I deepened my voice, patted the illusion. But when I dropped the bomb, the Fed's warrant, expedited by my anonymous tip, he paled. Finn? That you? Shit. Man. It was business. I didn't let him finish. Just walked away, leaving him to the cuffs that clicked like karma. He went down for 25, singing like a canary about family obligations. But he didn't name me. Loyalty's last joke. Elias was the feast. I watched from afar as his empire swelled, marrying the firm's daughter in a Lakeshore Drive affair that screamed old money. No kids, the society pages noted dryly. No mention of the one he'd lost. Me. In this body, carrying his seed twisted by science and spite. The child kicked harder now, 5th month in, as if sensing the storm. I moved to LA, glitz to hide in, working odd jobs as a temp coder. Lena's skills a ghost gift. Nights. I wove the web, forged docs proving my innocence, planted in his in-laws' servers, whispers to reporters about Kane cover-ups, a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to Derek's rot. But revenge isn't linear. It festers. By month 7, the weight bent me double, breaths short in the Hollywood Hills heat. I dreamed of Elias's spit, the warmth turning to fire, and woke screaming the name that wasn't mine anymore. Lena's suicide note, prepped for the swap, hit the wires, blaming corporate sabotage and naming Harlan and Sons. Elias's face on the news, haunted, hollow. Good. Let it gnaw. The climax brewed in the 8th month, when I flew back to Chicago, belly leading like a battering ram. I'd booked a gala, Kane Development's anniversary bash at the Art Institute, under a false invite, gown draped over the swell like armor. Security waved me through. Who questions a pregnant woman with a Vanderbilt lilt? Inside. Chandeliers dripped light on tuxedos and gowns. Elias holding court by the Monet. His laugh forced as glass. I waited until the toast, slipping into the shadows of the coat room. Heart-pounding twin time. Then, the drop, an envelope on his chair. Ultrasound photo front and center, the same one from our engagement night. Now dated fresh, with a note in my old handwriting. You lost this. But I kept it safe. His reaction? Priceless. Face draining to ash. Hands trembling as he clutched it. The room spinning oblivious. That's when I stepped out. Close enough for him to see the truth in my eyes. in this face. Elias, I said, voice Lena's but laced with Finn. He froze, spit drying on Memory's tongue. Miss me? He didn't spit this time. No. Elias Kane was too polished for that, even in freefall. His eyes darted from the photo to my face, then down to the belly that strained against silk, a living accusation. The gallows murmur faded to white noise, the clink of champagne flutes a distant storm.
Finn.
The word escaped like a gasp, his hand shooting out to grip my arm, too tight, bruising the flesh that wasn't mine. What the hell is this? Some sick joke? You're pregnant, I finished, voice steady as the Chicago River in flood. With your child. The one you wrote off when you believed the lie. Up close. He looked older than 32, lines etched by boardroom battles. A silver thread at his temple I'd never noticed. Or maybe it was guilt, finally cracking the facade. He yanked me into a side alcove, away from prying eyes. The air thick with the scent of lilies and his cologne, sandalwood, the kind that used to make me weak. This isn't possible. You vanished. The feds said you skipped bail, that you were holed up in some cartel safe house. His whisper was frantic, eyes wild. And this body, Jesus. Finn, you're a woman now? What did you do? I laughed, low and bitter, the sound echoing Lena's ghost. What did I do? I survived.
Elias.
While you climbed higher on my corpse. I pulled back, letting him see the full picture, the tattoos peeking from my sleeve, the subtle scar from Lena's C-section practice run. Body swap. Experimental. Courtesy of a doctor you buried under NDAs and lawsuits. But hey. Silver lining. Your kid's kicking up a storm. Feels like it knows daddy's a fraud. His face crumpled. A war of emotions flashing. Denial. Rage. Then, God help me, a flicker of the man I'd loved. Derek, he muttered.
Piecing it.
That son of a bitch framed you.
I know now.
The Real logs surfaced last month, anonymous leak. He's rotting in Supermax. And the charges against you?
Dropped.
He reached for the bump. Hesitant. Like touching a live wire. Why didn't you come back? We could have fixed this. Fixed it. As if love was a leaky faucet. Because you spat on me.
Elias.
Believed him over me. Over us. The words tasted like ash. The memory fresh despite the months. And there's more. Secrets you don't know. The kind that make empires crumble. He pulled me closer. Oblivious to the risk, his wife. The firm's darling. Schmoozing donors 20 feet away. Tell me. Whatever it is. We'll handle it. Together. His hand on my belly now. Feeling the flutter. And damn if it didn't stir something treacherous. Hope?
No.
Just the old ache. But I wasn't here for reconciliation. Not yet. Not tonight, I murmured, slipping a USB drive into his pocket. Lena's final gift. Encrypted files proving Harlan and Son's deeper rot. Not just Derek's skim, but a decade of kickbacks. Bribing city council for zoning wins. Laundering through shell charities. Elias's own signature on half. Digest this. Then decide if you're the hero or the villain. I melted into the crowd before he could respond. Heart hammering as I hit the exit, the night air slapping cold and clean. Uber to O'Hare. Red eye to Seattle, new city. New alias. But the seed was planted. Over the next weeks, as I nested in a rainy queen and rental, waddling through Pike Place with armfuls of onesies. The fallout rippled. Elias's calls started, burner numbers. Voicemails laced with desperation. Finn.
Please.
It's ours.
The baby.
Then the news. Harlan and Sons under DOJ probe. His father-in-law indicted. Elias cooperating fully per the Trib. Power unravels fast when the threads are pulled. Derek, from his cell, spilled more, how Elias's brother, the prosecutor, had tipped him off to fudge the evidence, burying it for a family favor. Betrayal squared. But the real secret? The one I'd borne like a cross? It wasn't just the frame job. It was the child, the real one, conceived before the swap, in a moment of reckless joy. But Lena's body. Complications. The fetus inside now was a construct, a lab-grown echo using Elias's frozen sample and my harvested eggs. Pre-swap. A miracle of spite. The truth? I'd miscarried the original in the Gary trailer. Stress and grief, too much for fragile beginnings. Hid it from everyone, even Elias, because admitting loss would have broken me then.
Now.
It fueled me. Controversial? Hell yes, playing God with lives. Swapping souls like outfits. But in America's underbelly, where the rich skate and the rest drown, ethics are for suckers. I debated it nightly, hand on the swell, whispering apologies to the life I'd engineered. Was I mother or monster? The kick said keep going. Elias found me in month 9, pounding on my door during a downpour, soaked and shattered. I left her, he said, no preamble, collapsing onto the thrift store couch. Divorce papers filed. The firm's dissolving, my fault. All of it. I signed off on the bribes.
Finn. To protect. Us.
Thought it'd buy time for the ring. The house. But Derek knew. Blackmailed me into letting him use your access. His eyes, red-rimmed, begged. I was wrong. About everything. I let him stay, against every screaming instinct. We talked for hours, raw, ugly truths spilling like vomit. How his brother, Victor, the DA, had orchestrated the cover to climb the political ladder, using Kane money for campaigns. How I'd borne the miscarriage alone, blaming myself for not fighting harder. He wept then, holding me, her, as the contractions teased early. Marry me. For real this time. We'll raise her, him, together. Clean slate.
Tempting.
So damn tempting. The child crowned that night in a Seattle ER. Elias pacing the hall like a caged lion, his hand in mine through the pushes. Isla Kane Harper. They named her 7 pounds of fury and forget-me-not eyes. He signed the birth certificate without question. The swaps lie buried deep. For a week, it was bliss. Bottles at dawn. His arms around us in the recovery bed. Whispers of Wyoming ranches and fresh starts. But revenge doesn't end with a bow. It twists. Victor called 2 days postpartum. Voice silk over venom. Elias. You idiot. That kid? Not yours. DNA'll prove it, lab rat experiment. He dug. The cunning bastard. Hiring PIs to trace Lena's trail. And Finn, accessory to fraud. At least. Manslaughter if the doc's suicide sticks. Elias went pale. But I was ready. Prove it, I challenged. Phone on speaker. Victor laughed. promising warrants. But he didn't know the ace, Lena's backups, uploaded to a dead man's switch. That night, as Elias rocked Isla, I hit send files to every major outlet. DOJ whistleblower line. Even Victor's rivals in the governor's race. Proof of his machinations, tampered evidence, witness payoffs. The works. The twist hit at dawn. Elias's phone blew up. Victor's arrest. Live on CNN. Cuffs glinting under flashbulbs. But the reversal?
Deeper.
In the files, a hidden folder. Lena's confession. Not suicide. Murder. She'd discovered Harlan's ties to human trafficking, surrogates smuggled for elite clients, and confronted Elias months before the swap. He'd silenced her. Not with words, but a shove down clinic stairs. Cover-up complete. Until I inherited her rage. Elias stared at me, Isla fussing in his arms. It was an accident. She threatened everything. His voice broke. You. The room tilted. Betrayals echo. Round 3. I'd borne his crime unknowingly, the swap a vessel for his sin. You killed her, I whispered, snatching our daughter. And I carried your guilt. Your child. For nothing. He reached, pleading.
Finn, please.
I love you. We can run, but love's a lie when built on graves. I called the tip line myself. Voice steady. This is Finley Harper. I have evidence on Kane. Sirens wailed by noon. Elias led away in his monogrammed robe, eyes locking on mine with shattered betrayal. Freedom tastes like hospital jello and stale coffee. But with Isla's milky breath against my chest, it was ambrosia. Seattle faded in the rear view as I drove east. A U-Haul trailing like a loyal dog, bound for the Badlands, South Dakota's endless nothing, where secrets sink into the earth like rain. Victor's empire crumbled first, disbarred, facing racketeering charges that painted him as Chicago's own Gacy in a suit. The media frenzy dubbed it Kane Clan collapse, talking heads on Fox and MSNBC debating if it was justice or a liberal witch hunt. Elias? Out on bail. But the noose tightened, manslaughter upgraded to murder too when Lena's fall forensics resurfaced. Bruises inconsistent with accident. I didn't watch the trials. Not directly. From a ranch outside Rapid City, bought cheap with Lena's hidden nest egg, I monitored via VPNs and burner tabs. Isla cooing on a quilt of wild sunflowers. Motherhood in exile. Diapers at dawn. Lullabies laced with paranoia. Every stranger's glance, a potential fed. But damn. She was worth it. Curls like Elias's. Fire in her cry like mine. The swap's gift? Hormones that softened edges. Instincts sharp as thorns. I homeschooled her in basics, numbers from my accountant days. Ethics from the ashes. Controversy dogged us like flies. Tabloids sniffed the trail. Mystery Mom, is the Kane-era lab baby? Pundits raged on X, some hailing me as a feminist avenger. Others decrying Frankenstein fertility as the end of family. Protests outside courthouses. Justice for Lena versus Stop the Swap Witch Hunt. I fueled it anonymously, dropping red herrings to keep the heat off our door. Ethical debates raged in bioethics journals. Could a swapped soul claim maternity? Was Isla property or person? I read them all, hand on her back, wondering if I'd damned her to footnotes. Elias's letters started arriving, smuggled via a sympathetic nurse from the ER birth. Handwritten, on heavy stock that smelled of his cologne.
Finn.
You're my North Star. Isla's my redemption. Pleas for visits. Photos. A chance to explain. The accident story evolved. Lena aggressive. High on amphetamines from Grant's stress. Lunging at him in a rage over denied funding. Self-defense. He'd claim at trial. But the files lied deeper. Audio of her begging. His voice cold. One word. And your career's over. Walk away. Not accident.
Choice.
I burned the first letter in the wood stove. Flames dancing like accusations. But they kept coming, each more desperate. Enclosing crayon scribbles he'd imagined for her. By her second birthday, cake from a Walmart mix. Candles flickering in prairie wind, I cracked. Not for him, but for her. Kids need fathers, even flawed ones. Or so the therapists on public radio preached. I arranged the meet. Neutral ground. A Sioux Falls diner off I-90. Lawyers on speed dial. He looked wrecked, thinner. Jaw shadowed. The bespoke suit swapped for chinos that hung loose. But his eyes lit when he saw us. Isla on my hip in her duckling overalls.
God.
She's perfect, he breathed, voice thick. I let him hold her, the moment stretching taut as a wire. She babbled, tugging his ear, oblivious to the chasm. We talked over pie, apple.
À la mode.
The diner's specialty. Surface first, her first steps in the ranch dust. My gig as a remote consultant for ethical startups. Then deeper, the swap's toll. Phantom pains from my old body. Nightmares of spitting faces. I get it now, he said. Fork paused. The power. The isolation. Victor. He was the spider, but I wove the web. Confession spilled. How the bribes started small. Zoning favors for his father's legacy. Snowballing into the trafficking Lena uncovered. Surrogates for the 1%ers. I turned a blind eye. For us, Finn. To give you the life I thought you deserved. Deserved? I hissed. Low so Isla wouldn't startle. You framed me for your sins. Killed the woman who saved me. And this child, she's a weapon you handed me. The waitress eyed us, sensing the storm. His hand covered mine across the formica, warm and familiar. Let me make it right. Plea deals in motion, 10 years. Maybe less. I'll sign everything over, trusts, properties. For her, eyes pleading. For you, the decision gnawed for weeks after. Controversial as hell. Co-parenting with a killer? Society would have crucified me. Enabler or survivor. Forums lit up when whispers leaked, mine. Testing waters, should victims forgive. Polls swung 60 to 40 no. But the yes haunted, stories of grace amid gore. I waited against Isla's questions to come. Where's Daddy? Liza Road. Truth scars. Trial loomed that fall. Chicago ablaze with coverage. I flew in incognito. Belly empty now, but heart heavy. Testifying under alias as witness to Lena's work. The stand was purgatory. Victor's glare from the defense table. Elias's nod of quiet thanks. I laid it bare, the swap's mechanics. Ethical minefield. How it exposed the rot. Jury ate it up. Headline screamed, Soul Swap Savior. Elias took the stand next. Voice steady, remorse scripted, but real in the cracks. I betrayed the man I loved. Killed the woman who could have changed medicine. For power that meant nothing. Verdict, guilty. 12 years. Victor got life without. His web too tangled. Elias hugged me in the courthouse shadows, brief. Electric. Right soon. I nodded. Throat tight. Isla's photo in his pocket like a talisman. Back west. Life settled into uneasy rhythm. Letters flew both ways now, his from Joliet, mine from the ranch. He sketched blueprints for a post-prison foundation, anti-trafficking, bioethics reform. I sent photos. Isla on a pony.
Her first snowman.
Forgiveness? Not yet. But understanding crept in. A thaw after endless winter. The twist brewed slow. Insidious. Month 6 into his sentence. A package arrived, no return address. Brown paper reeking of ink and spite. Inside, a flash drive. Labeled The Real Lie. I plugged it in. Heart sinking as files bloomed, emails. Not from Victor.
But me.
Pre-swap Finn. Desperate after the miscarriage. Begging Derek for a solution. Not just a job vouch, a pact. I'd known about his schemes. Looked away for a cut to fund our escape. Elias's world too gilded. Too trapping. When it spiraled, Derek flipped, framing me to save his skin. But the seed?
Mine.
Nausea hit harder than labor. I'd borne the crime. Yes, but birthed it too. The innocent victim? A mask I'd worn longer than truth. The revelation sat like lead in my gut, rewriting history in shades of gray. I'd always seen myself as the patsy, the good son gunned down by kin. But those emails, timestamps ironclad, my phrasing unmistakable, painted complicity. A few grand siphoned for a down payment on a dream condo. Rationalized as loans in late-night chats with Derek over beers. Family helps family, he'd say. And I'd nod, ignoring the itch. When the heat came, I didn't snitch, I doubled down, deleting traces until his frame job made me the perfect fall guy. Isla turned 3 that spring, oblivious to the storm clouds gathering in my eyes. We baked mud pies in the ranch yard. Her laughter a balm against the what-ifs. Did Elias know? Had he suspected? Even in our bliss? The letters shifted tone after that. Less pleading. More probing. Tell me everything.
Finn.
No more shadows. I burned them unopened. Fear coiling like barbed wire. Confession meant crumbling our fragile peace. Isla's world upended by a mother's original sin. America loves a redemption arc. But mine soured fast. Whispers reached the heartland. A podcaster in Omaha pieced the swap to the Kane saga, dubbing me the phantom parent. Protests swelled. Outside the prison. Pickets for Elias's release. Innocent man jailed by lies. Countered by Lena's advocates. Justice for the silenced. I debated going public. Airing the full rot. My greed. The swap's hubris. The child engineered from vengeance. Controversy would explode. Op-eds on bodily autonomy. Cable rants on moral decay. But for what? Absolution? Or just more noise? Elias forced the hand. Parole hearing loomed, model inmate. Foundation launched from his cell block. He requested my testimony. A character vouch to sway the board. I drove to Joliet under alias. Isla with a sitter. The prison's razor wire glinting like accusations. Visitation room. Plexiglass and echoes. His face gaunt but eyes alive. You came, he breathed. Hand to the glass. For her, I said, sliding in the chair. No pleasantries. Elias. There's more. The embezzlement I knew. Participated. Even. Small at first, but it snowballed. Derek pulled the trigger, but I loaded the gun. A silence stretched. his breath fogging the barrier. Then, slow, I figured. No rage, just weary nod. After the files dropped,
I had my guy dig.
your old cloud backups recovered. But it changes nothing. We were all drowning in that world. Harlan's poison, his calm unnerved me. You should have hated me. I do. And I don't. He leaned close. Hate the system that made us thieves. Love the man who fought back. A beat. The woman who birthed our daughter from spite and science. Tears pricked mine. Not his. The board? What do you want from me? Truth, he said, simple. Tell them everything. The swap. The secrets. Your part. It'll free us all. I did. Testimony raw as flang, my complicity. The miscarriage's grief-fueled blindness. Lena's murder as the catalyst for my rebirth. Board aided. Vulnerability cells in Rehab America. Parole granted. 6 months early. Elias walked free on a muggy July dawn, straight to Rapid City, knocking with wildflowers and a stuffed bison for Isla. Reunion was chaos, her shrieks of joy, his tears soaking her curls. My heart a battlefield. We didn't rush, separate rooms in the ranch house, boundaries like fragile china. But nights, with her asleep, we'd talk on the porch, stars wheeling overhead. His foundation boomed. Voss Initiative, bioethics grants in Lena's name. Anti-trafficking raids netting headlines. Victor rotted. Appeals denied. Derek. Shanked in a yard fight. Gone quiet. The final twist? It wasn't reversal, but reckoning. DNA test, insisted by a lingering PI from the old firm, confirmed Isla as ours. The lab construct a miracle unbroken. But in the results, a footnote. My original miscarriage? Not grief. Sabotage. Derek. Dosing my coffee with RU 486 scraps from a shady hookup. To lighten your load. Bro. Big plans ahead. His confession. Smuggled pre-death. Sealed in the files. Betrayals full circle. I'd borne his crime. Yes, but he'd stolen our first child.
Paving my path to the swap.
Elias held me that night, sobs racking us both under the Dakota sky. We're done running, he whispered. Build something real.
We did.
Wedding small, courthouse. Witnesses from the foundation, vows laced with I betray. But I return. Isla flowered. Bilingual in love and loss. Controversy lingered. Books pitched swapped souls, a Cain chronicle. Ethics panels debating our family. We debated too, dinners sharp with what-ifs. Was the swap sin or salvation? Forgiveness gift or graft?
Ending?
No tidy bow. Happy in fractures, Elias's hand in mine at parent-teacher nights. Isla's questions met with age-soft truths. But the darkness? It hums beneath. A reminder. Revenge devours. But rebirth demands debate. In America's endless reinvention, we chose to endure, spit dried. Lies exhumed. Child claimed. Until the next storm. Or maybe that's the point. In the land of second chances, third acts write themselves. And ours? Still unfolding. One controversial breath at a time.